Welcome back to Mega Man X8. Last time, we did another Ride Chaser stage, and it was also bad. Today, before we start, however, I need the Prickle Barrier for one specific thing I want to pick up. Otherwise, I have to wait a while to get it, and I don't want to.
I've suspected as much ever since Vile showed up.
And honestly, it's kinda just a safe assumption anytime anything bad happens.
Orbital elevator. There are some dark forces at work behind the scenes here.
Like Dark Mantis. It's in his name.
Something. By the way, I noticed a Reploid copying Sigma's body.
What do you mean, a Reploid X?
Could that be connected
There were
in some way
many.
to them going Maverick?
I doubt it. Theoretically, there's no danger in copying others' bodies.
And yet, here we are.
X, you fought Sigma bodies before, so you know how tough their design is.
Okay,
I
what?
suppose all I can do now is continue taking care of the Mavericks and collecting data.
I feel like we made several different points and didn't connect them well at all. What? Anyway, this of course is a Axel and X day, so let's move out. And unfortunately that means we're bringing pallets.
Leave it to me!
Honestly, I don't find her voice that annoying or anything, but like, I don't know, I just don't care about... Bamboo Pandemonium's very good. I just don't care about the child leading us. I prefer Alia and Lair.
This place was used to develop rockets. Now, some just call it the Rocket Ruin.
On account of the
Maybe there's
rockets.
still some old ride armor left over around here somewhere.
Okay, so this is sort of a vehicle stage, but it's not an automatic on-rails stage, and we get to use ride armor instead, and let me tell you, that's so much better. Now, let's see, it's gonna be a little while, right? Okay, so, there are enemies in ride armor, as always. Sometimes, if you defeat a ride armor enemy, they will leave their ride armor behind, but it's not as good as... If I could just pass you, thank you. It's not as good as this one. So it's got good punches, a lot of health, and can also fire a shot that stuns enemies, which is incredibly useful. So the gimmick of the stage is, you want to keep this thing for the whole thing. It is, in general, your best chance at a ride armor, since the other armors are just a random drop anyway. This one's guaranteed. You want to make sure you hold on to this one, because it's got a lot of functions, including being able to just step on certain enemies until they die. But yeah, since this is not an auto-scroller or a on-rails stage, I like this one way more than the other vehicle stages. The ride armor is pretty fun, which is nice because I'm glad X7 didn't manage to overshadow this one somehow. Because, you know, the fact that X7 has the better Ride Chaser stage is kind of ridiculous because that one's just wonky, and yet I had a way better time with that one than either of the two in this game. I will say, I do like the gigantic ride armor of X7. It's kind of self-explanatory, it's huge and it just has some cool weapons. However, this one's... it plays a little more like the, other X Games ride armors, but it still feels pretty powerful. It's one of those, it doesn't feel awful to control. It is, like, a little slow and deliberate, but it does not necessarily feel bad for it. So anyway, now that we've got the gimmick out of the way, I would like to mention, New Game Plus. This game has it. So, yeah, like, most X games, I don't think have it in the first place, but it doesn't really matter, because really, what would you gain from it in most cases? Like, the only thing I can think of is, the fan hack for Mega Man X3, which was very useful at the time, I will say. But considering this game has a whole upgrade system, and you have to, you know, you buy a whole lot of upgrades, and you might not even get all of them in the first playthrough. In fact, there's a pretty good chance you probably won't. I think it makes sense to have a New Game Plus. Like, that's just fun to work with. However, there's a bunch of things... Yeah, I know who you are, Palette. But yeah, like, it's got a bunch of things that you need to beat the game to unlock. Oh yeah, by the way, this right here is why I have the prickle barrier. If I could just get rid of you real quick, that'd be great. Are you possessed? Yeah, you're possessed. I heard the possession noises. Yeah, aura all you want, don't care. Anyway though, so, there are codes for the main character's alternate forms, as per usual. And, yeah, this is the prickle barrier right here. Though, even with prickle barrier, that's actually some pretty tight timing on that. Wall jumping off spikes is not easy.
So I've prepared parts for you. This time I've got foot parts I for you to try. Equip this part to jump much higher than usual.
Oh, that's just plain useful. Cool.
And board the capsule next.
So right, I'll put the codes on screen for you, but there is, as always, Ultimate Armor X, Black Armor 0, and since he didn't have one in the last game, but they needed something for him, White Armor Axle. It feels kinda like Jak 3, where they felt the need to just add a form like they did in the previous game, but they're like, I don't know. Here's the light one or whatever. So yeah, we just have White Axle, which... I mean, Black Suit Zero is also kinda out of nowhere, but I don't know, there's just something about Axles that feels weird. Maybe it's just the lack of establishment. Like, we've never seen this form before, he hasn't had any ult, so... Now that we're at the last game, yeah, it just feels kinda weird. But that being said, each character does have official ways to get their alternate forms. So those all involve, usually I think beating the game with all of a character's equipment, and I think you also specifically have to beat the game with them, but I'll just throw up any alternate conditions if that isn't correct. However, in addition to having those carry over for new games, which, you know, that's rad enough in the first place, you can also play as the Navigators as well, which is completely unprecedented. There hasn't been a game where that's been a thing. However, whichever Navigator you use the most will actually carry over to a new file. So you just get to unlock whoever you used a bunch. So if you only ever used Alia, then you can play as Alia, who will replace X, and like I said earlier on in the LP, each of the Navigators kind of has an equivalent to the main cast, so of course, yeah, while Alia will replace X, Lair will replace Zero, and Palette will replace Axel, which, again, I don't care about the 10-year-old that much, so sorry Axel, but yeah, that's your replacement.
Great, that's a rare medal.
X gets to play as the Navigator who's been here for a while. Yeah, I like Alia a lot. I know a lot of people hate her because they didn't like the Navigator system in previous games, but I like her. And then you have Lair, who, I really like her design, she looks cool. And also she gets a special weapon that is a rapier, so that's rad. And yeah, she seems pretty neat, though. Who are they trying to convince having her crush on Zero? Like, oh yeah, they'll totally get together. There are definitely straight ships in Mega Man X, totally. Fucking who do you think you're fooling, Capcom? I'm not shipping Zero with anybody but X. Lair doesn't have a chance, I'm sorry. Now granted, I did see some people try back in the day. It's not as ubiquitous as, like, Phoenix and Edgeworth. Same company, same color scheme, but there were people who attempted to do, like, I don't know, X and Alia or whatever. But yeah, you get those three Navigators, and again, I just think that's pretty neat. Unfortunately, that's not really something I could have done for this LP, to just, you know, either play the game or just more likely load up a save file to play as them instead, because again, it is the last of the platforming games, so I can't really pull off a Roll Chan 6, and, you know, just have the female characters take over out of nowhere. Though, given how story-based these games are in the first place, that's kind of hardly viable in the first place anyway. It seems pretty unlikely that they'd fit in any of the story ones. Especially since, unfortunately, the other aspect of it is, since you're playing as the Navigator, they did not actually give them alternate lines or anything like that, so they don't say anything to the bosses. I don't remember if they even get cutscenes if you're playing as them. So, you know, there'd be a lot less dialogue in this game. I am actually kind of tempted to, after I'm done recording this, just, like, find a save file on the internet that just has 100% completion and just get them in. I will say this about X8. I know I didn't like the Ride Chaser stages, but honestly, I could still kind of fuck with this game at this point. As improved as X was by its hack, I'm still fine that I'm done with the game, but I'm just seeing, like, I'm seeing the fact that I could be playing as the Navigators and just thinking, like, I could, though. I could play as the Navigators. That is a thing I could do. It's a viable option. Oh, like I said, Lair gets a rapier. All of the Navigators get their own special weapons as well.
Did you know that the earliest form of rocketry was missiles used for war?
I need an entire documentary voiced by this guy.
Inventions like that are what has brought the world to its current state.
Is that what you Mavericks believe? What Sigma believes? But that's
dumb.
I know what
I don't
you're
like
going
it.
to say. You think that idea to be Maverick, don't you?
Well, let me tell you
That's
about
why
the
we are
history of
forced
the
to
Mavericks.
You see?
Alright, so here's why you want to keep the ride armor throughout the entire stage. Bamboo Pandemonium can be kinda tough. If you have ride armor, however, you can obliterate his health meter. Like, if you can have your ride armor survive better than mine did, you have so much to work with. Also, yeah, right there, I forgot to mention it, back when I got the full armor set. There is one reason to keep a full armor set instead of mixing and matching, and that's the fact that you do actually get the burst attacks, or whatever they're called. I've never used them before, so I forget the name of them, but like, they're actually kind of viable. Giga attacks, that's it. Don't worry, future me, you don't have to do anything. I got it.
time to go home.
But yeah, normally I don't use the Giga attacks, but they're actually pretty useful in this game. And like, they're not kind of finicky in their use, I can just explode things, it's nice. Alright, so thanks to the fact that I shoved Axel's face into spikes, that stage was a backyard to us. So, that was Bamboo Pandemonium, R.I.P. I hope he's voicing some kind of documentary in hell. But for the time being, what did we get for items? Oh, weapon converter. Well, that's actually really useful, especially if you're doing a no weapons run, which I kind of am. Shield armor, that's just less damage, cool. More iframes, that's good. And I think that's it. Alright, well, guess we'll go with another life up. So yeah, like I said, New Game Plus seems pretty useful considering it's kinda hard to get enough medals to get everything in one playthrough. I have to admit, if I had X8 when I was a kid, I absolutely would've run the hell out of this game. I would have such a completed save file. Wouldn't even be funny.